There is something even more fishy coming out, as if we don't already have enough. There is this story about this kid who was killed in this, I'm going to start calling it an attack, collision, because accident just doesn't jive. There's just no way. And I know there's still people coming to the channel that, and a very small minority are coming to the channel saying that they believe the Navy story, but anyway, story about one of the 7 sailors who was killed below decks trying to use the WhatsApp to contact his father. The story's on CNN. And it's here. And I hate using stories like this because this man is now without his son, and I don't even want to begin to try to think about what that man's going through. Anyway, it says here, 36 minutes after the collision, 24-year-old Martin tried to reach his father. The way we communicated was with WhatsApp, Martin said. Martin could tell from his phone that his son had tried to reach him. Okay, now this likely as water was rushing in is just assumption. 36 minutes after the collision, so they're using, I'm assuming here, the 1:30 time. So at 2:06, allegedly, below decks, with God knows how much steel between this guy and free air, 50 miles out to sea, this guy was pulling a Wi-Fi signal. He was getting enough of a signal to pull data, because this is the WhatsApp, and this is how they describe their app. With voice calls, you can talk to your friends and family for free, even if they're in another country. And with free video calls, you can have face-to-face conversations. When voice or text just isn't enough, WhatsApp voice and video calls use your phone's internet connection instead of your cell plan's voice minutes, so you don't have to worry about expensive calling charges. What? This guy, this is one of the sailors' fathers who was below decks, trapped below decks, and this guy was getting a Wi-Fi signal. This guy was getting a data signal so that he could get a signal out to call his dad. See, EMP doesn't kill everything. It's not an exact science. Now, big enough EMPs will, but I've made the allegation that the ship might have been disabled and sitting dead in the water when it was hit. Now, follow with me on this track, folks. This guy said that he got an attempt to a call at 36 minutes after the collision. They're saying the collision was 1:30, so we're going to go 2:06. Okay. So at 2:06, and I have no reason to doubt this man, that his phone says that there was a missed call through this WhatsApp that requires an internet connection to work. Because it says in the WhatsApp right here, instead of use your phone's internet connection instead of your cell plan's voice minutes. So he wasn't just getting a normal cell signal. He was trying to call through an internet or some type of a Wi-Fi connection. Well, how in the below decks, that far below decks, with that much steel and water, allegedly, between him and, free air above him, but he's still 50 miles out to sea. I don't know if anybody's been 50 miles out to sea who's watching this and have taken their cell phone out. There's a story out there saying that the only communications on board was through sat phones. That's what the crew of the destroyer used to contact each other on the ship and to make communications to shore. Now, let's go back to this original report. We've been here before. A track with a much larger container ship's route by marine traffic, a vessel tracking service, shows it made a sudden turn as if trying to avoid something at about 1:30. Before continuing eastward, it then made a U-turn and returned at about 2:30 a.m. to the area near the collision. The Coast Guard initially said the collision occurred at 2:20 a.m. because the Philippine ship had reported it at 2:25. So the Philippine ship reported it to the Coast Guard at 2:25. We have someone aboard the stricken Navy destroyer, allegedly, that it already had been struck at 2:25, trying from below decks, attempting to make a call and apparently succeeding to the extent that it got the signal out, and his dad just missed the call. After interviewing Filipino crew members, the Coast Guard had changed the collision time to 1:30. Now, Coast Guard official Tetsuya Tanaka said they're trying to resolve what happened during the 50 minutes. But according to adding to the confusion, a U.S. Navy official said it's sticking with the 2:20 a.m. timing for the crash that he said had been reported by the Fitzgerald. So I'm wondering if this phone call that this kid had made to his dad that his dad didn't get wasn't from below decks and wasn't to report that the ship had been hit, but that the ship had been clobbered by an EMP and was dead in the water, and the ship itself had no ability to communicate out. I also find it strange that the other 299 crew members aboard, that no one else tried to call mom, call dad, tried to call anybody, picked up their phone and did anything, but this one guy, and he did so not from a regular cell signal. He got a data connection using an app that requires Wi-Fi. So that's a head scratcher, folks. You know, they make the assumption in the article that he was, you know, and he was below decks. That's where they found him. At the time, that's where they found him. But it could be that the ship hadn't been hit when he tried to call, and he didn't get the answer. He had gone back below decks to maybe, who knows, put his phone back or something, and it was later, at the 2:20 time, 15, 20 minutes later, that's when the ship was hit. And that would jive with what the Navy said, because the simple idea that the first communication of this event came from the Filipino crew an hour later is just not plausible, even if they hit the communications room. You're telling me that not a single officer on that bridge, no one in unaffected areas of the ship, no one else other than this one kid picked up a phone and tried to communicate, or tried to pick up a sat phone, communicate anything. They said they had sat phones. If it occurred at 1:30, why didn't the Navy know about it at 1:31? Why didn't the Navy know about it at 1:45? Why didn't the Navy know about it at 2:02? If this kid, can get a Wi-Fi signal out, somehow get a signal out from allegedly below decks at the time, that's only an assumption. I mean, that's where they found him. But you can't say that at that time that he tried to make the call that he was there. Because seriously, I mean, he's a lower ranking Navy kid, and God bless them all, hardworking, good folks, heroes, every single one of them, but probably not an incredibly expensive cell phone. Probably something fairly inexpensive, probably been used and beat up a little bit, because that's sailors and soldiers, you know, live kind of a rough life. That it was able to get a data connection out from below decks, and also, I mean, I know there would be thoughts of your loved ones and in that type of a thing, but to be able to, at that point, with water rushing in, to get the cell phone out, assuming it wasn't damaged by the water, assuming that it wasn't damaged by the alleged collision, to be able to open up the app, and then try to get the signal from below decks, something's weird. Something's very weird, folks. But anyway, thank you very much for all the support. The channel's going great. Everyone is being polite and respectful and bringing a lot to the conversation. I really appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you.